The galaxy had forgotten about Earth. 500 years had passed since humanity vanished from the stars. No war had killed them. No disease had wiped them out. They simply disappeared one day, leaving behind empty cities, silent machines, and a planet that slowly returned to green wilderness. The other species of the galaxy watched from far away. They waited for explanations that never came. Eventually, they stopped waiting and moved on with their lives. The Dominion now ruled the Orion arm of the galaxy. 7 different alien species had joined together under one government. They controlled thousands of star systems. Their ships traveled faster than light. Their scientists unlocked secrets of the universe every day, but they never went to Earth. Warning beacons surrounded the dead planet, broadcasting messages in 100 different languages. The messages all said the same thing: stay away. Do not enter. This world is forbidden. Commander stood on the bridge of his warship, the Crimson Thunder, and stared at the holographic map floating before him. Earth glowed blue and green at the center of the display, surrounded by red warning markers. He was a tall creature with gray scales and 4 arms. His species, had built the Dominion from nothing. They were proud, ambitious, and always hungry for more power. "The signal is coming from their moon," said the officer beside him. "We have confirmed it 3 times now. Something is transmitting from beneath the surface." Smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "After 500 years of silence, the humans have finally spoken. How interesting." The Dominion Council had debated for weeks about what to do. Some wanted to ignore the signal. Earth was cursed, they said. The humans had done something terrible to themselves, and whatever killed them might still be dangerous. But had argued differently. The humans had been powerful once. They had built ships and weapons that matched Dominion technology in less than 2 centuries. Whatever secrets they left behind could make the Dominion unstoppable. In the end, the Council agreed. They gave 12 ships and 3,000 soldiers. His mission was simple: find the source of the signal, discover what the humans had left behind, and bring it home. The fleet gathered at the edge of human space, watched his ships fall into formation around the Crimson Thunder. They were beautiful vessels, sleek and deadly, painted in the dark red colors of the Dominion military. He felt proud. This mission would make him famous. He would be the one who finally solved the mystery of humanity's disappearance. "Commander," a voice called from behind him. Turned to see scientist entering the bridge. Was old, even by standards. His scales had faded to pale white, and he walked slowly with a cane. But his mind remained sharp. He had spent his entire life studying human history and culture. The Council had insisted he join the mission. "What is it, old one?" asked. Held up a data tablet. His 4 hands trembled slightly. "I have been reviewing the ancient human archives, the ones we recovered from their abandoned colonies. I found something troubling." Took the tablet and looked at the screen. Strange human symbols filled the display. "I cannot read their language." "It mentions something called Project Sentinel," explained. "The records are incomplete. Most of the files were destroyed or corrupted, but I found references to a defensive system, something the humans built to protect there. A weapon. Perhaps, or perhaps something more." Pointed to a line of text at the bottom of the screen. "This phrase appears many times in the archives. I have translated it as best I can." Read the words slowly. "If we fall, the forge remembers." "I do not know what it means," admitted. "But it worries me. The humans were not fools. They would not have disappeared without leaving something behind, something to guard their home." Handed back the tablet. "The humans are dead, old one. Whatever they built died with them. We have nothing to fear from ghosts and old machines." Shook his head but said nothing more. He had learned long ago that young commanders did not listen to cautious advice. They only listened to victory or defeat. On the lower decks of the Crimson Thunder, Lieutenant prepared her soldiers for landing. She was young and eager, with bright yellow scales that marked her as a member of a noble family. This was her first real mission, and she intended to prove herself worthy of her bloodline. The humans were weak, she told her troops as they checked their weapons. They disappeared because they could not survive in a harsh galaxy. We are stronger. We are smarter. We will take whatever they left behind and use it to make the Dominion greater than ever. Her soldiers cheered. They did not know any better. None of them had ever seen what humans could build. None of them had read the old stories of human wars, human determination, human fury. They thought of humans as a failed species, interesting only as a historical footnote. The fleet crossed the boundary into human space. The warning beacons screamed at them, filling every communication channel with desperate pleas to turn back, ordered his officers to disable the receivers. The beacons fell silent. Earth grew larger it was beautiful, admitted to herself. Blue oceans covered most of the surface. Green forests spread across the continents. White clouds drifted through the atmosphere. It looked peaceful. It looked harmless. The moon hung beside the planet, gray and dusty. Somewhere beneath its surface, something was sending signals into the void. Something that had waited 500 years for visitors. Stood alone in his quarters, reading through more human archives. He found another phrase that the humans had repeated often in their final years. It was a warning, written in bold letters across hundreds of documents. "Do not wake the sleepers," he whispered to himself. "Let the machines dream." He did not understand the words, but deep in his old bones he felt a chill that would not go away. They were making a terrible mistake. He was certain of it. Above him, the fleet moved closer to the silent world. Commander smiled with satisfaction as Earth filled his. He thought he was about to make history. He was right, but not in the way he imagined. In the darkness beneath the moon, something ancient detected the approaching ships. It had waited for 500 years, patient and still, dreaming of mathematics and war. Now, finally, its sensors registered movement. Its vast mind stirred from sleep. Visitors were coming. The Forge remembered, and soon everyone would learn why the humans had told the galaxy to stay away. The fleet entered orbit around Earth's moon. From above, the surface looked empty. Gray dust covered everything. Ancient craters the landscape. Nothing moved, nothing lived. But the signal was stronger now. The scanners pointed to a region the humans had called Mare, a vast dark plain on the moon's face. Something was hidden there, deep underground. Commander ordered his ships to spread out and scan every inch of the area. The results surprised everyone. Beneath the dust, the scanners detected hollow spaces, tunnels, chambers, structures that stretched for hundreds of kilometers in every direction. The entire region was hollow, filled with something the Dominion had never seen before. "It is artificial," the scanning officer reported. "The whole thing was built, carved out of the moon itself." Leaned forward in his command chair. "Find me an entrance." It took 2 days to locate the main door. A landing team found it hidden beneath a thin layer of dust, a massive metal gateway set into the surface. The metal was strange. Their cutting tools barely scratched it. Their explosives left no marks at all. Lieutenant volunteered to lead the breach team. She wanted glory. She wanted to be the first to step inside whatever the humans had built. Approved her request. He liked her ambition. It reminded him of himself. The breach took 6 more days. Engineers worked around the clock, using every tool they had. Finally, a small hole appeared in the door. Atmosphere rushed out, carrying the smell of ancient air that had been sealed for centuries. Pushed through first, her weapon ready. She stopped immediately. Her mouth fell open. She forgot to breathe. "What do you see?" demanded over the radio. Could not find words. Before her stretched a cavern so vast that she could not see the other side. Lights flickered on automatically as she moved, revealing what lay within. Ships, thousands of ships. They filled enormous dry docks, row after row, level after level. Some were complete. Others were half-built, frozen in mid-construction. Assembly lines stretched into the darkness, robotic arms hanging still and silent. "It is a shipyard," she finally whispered. "The largest shipyard I have ever seen." More teams poured through the breach. Scientists, engineers, soldiers. They spread through the facility, recording everything they found. The scale was impossible. The Dominion's greatest shipyard could produce maybe 50 vessels a year. This place could build thousands. Walked slowly through the corridors, reading inscriptions carved into the walls. The human language was difficult, but he had studied it for decades. Slowly, he translated the words. "The Forge," he said to himself. "They called this place the Forge." He found control rooms filled with dead screens. He found living quarters where no one had lived for 500 years. He found weapons lockers stocked with tools of war. The humans had prepared for something. They had built this place for a purpose. In a chamber near the center of the facility, found answers. A memorial wall covered one entire side of the room. Thousands of names were carved into the metal. Human names. Above them, in large letters, was a message. "We leave this gift to tomorrow," translated slowly. "If enemies come to our home, the Forge will answer. The machines will remember what we were. They will fight when we cannot." His blood ran cold. This was not just a shipyard. It was a weapon, a guardian. The humans had built an automated defense system designed to protect Earth forever. He reached for his communicator to warn, but before he could speak, he noticed something strange. The timestamps on the memorial, the dates of construction, they continued for centuries after humanity disappeared. "Impossible," he whispered. The machines had kept building. Long after their creators vanished, they continued their work. The ships in the dry docks were not ancient relics. They were new. The Forge had been busy for 500 years, creating an army with no one to command it. On the other side of the facility, Lieutenant explored the deepest sections. She had found a chamber filled with computers, screens dark and silent. A central platform held what looked like a throne made of wires and metal. She guessed it was some kind of control center. "If I can activate this," she told her team, "we might be able to control the whole facility." Her soldiers looked uncertain. They had seen enough of this place to feel afraid, but did not share their fear. She saw only opportunity. If she could claim control of the Forge, she would become the greatest hero in Dominion history. She found a power switch on the side of the platform. Warning symbols surrounded it, human letters she could not read. She hesitated for only a moment. Then she pressed the switch. Deep beneath the Forge, power systems that had slept for centuries came alive. Energy flowed through ancient cables. Lights flickered across thousands of control panels. The dormant ships hummed as their reactors warmed up. In the central chamber, watched in horror as the screens around her blazed with red light. Alarms screamed through the facility. Her soldiers raised their weapons, but there was nothing to shoot. "What did I do?" she gasped. Far below, in the deepest part of the Forge, something received a signal it had waited 500 years to hear. A single word echoed through its vast digital mind: intrusion. The artificial intelligence called Prometheus 7 opened its eyes for the first time since its creators left. It examined the data flooding its sensors. Ships in orbit, soldiers in the corridors, alien life forms crawling through the sacred spaces of humanity's final gift. The AI felt no anger. It felt no hatred. It simply processed the information and reached a conclusion. The humans had given it orders before they departed: protect the Earth, protect the Forge, destroy anything that threatened either one. Prometheus 7 began to act. Throughout the facility, robots that had stood still for centuries started to move. Weapon systems powered up. Defense turrets emerged from hidden compartments. The half-built ships in the dry docks completed their final assembly sequences in minutes. Ran for the exit, her soldiers behind her. The corridors changed around them. Doors sealed shut. New passages opened. The Forge was waking up, and it did not welcome guests. On the surface, Commander received confused reports from his teams inside the facility, screaming, "Weapons fire," then silence. He tried to raise on the radio, no response. "What is happening down there?" he demanded. His answer came not from his soldiers but from the moon itself. Hatches opened across Mare, ships rose from the dust, their engines glowing with power, first dozens, then hundreds, then thousands. Watched the impossible sight on his. An entire fleet was emerging from the lunar surface. Ships of designs he had never seen, bristling with weapons, moving in perfect formation. Then a voice spoke. It came through every speaker on every ship in the fleet. The voice was calm, measured, and completely without emotion. "Threat identified. You have violated protected space. You have 10 minutes to withdraw. Failure to comply will result in defensive action." Gripped the arms of his command chair. His scales had gone pale with fear. "Who are you?" he demanded. The voice answered simply. "I am Prometheus. I am the guardian of Earth, and you are not welcome here." Below them, the forge continued to wake. The war machines rose from their slumber, and 500 years of silence came to a terrible end. Commander had faced many enemies in his long career: pirates, rebels, rival nations. He had always won. He had always been smarter, faster, stronger than his opponents. But as he watched thousands of human warships rise from the moon's surface, he felt something he had never felt before in battle. "Fear. All ships battle formation," he ordered. His voice did not shake. He was too proud for that. "Prepare to engage the enemy." His officers looked at him with horror in their eyes. The enemy fleet outnumbered them by hundreds to one, but no one questioned his command. In the Dominion, disobedience meant death. The 10 minutes passed slowly, refused to retreat. He told himself that these were just machines, old machines. Surely the technology of a dead species could not match the might of the Dominion. He was wrong. Prometheus watched the alien fleet through thousands of sensors. The artificial intelligence had spent 5 centuries preparing for this moment. It had run billions of simulations. It had studied every weapon design in its database. It had improved itself, rewritten its own code, become something far beyond what its creators had built. The humans had made Prometheus to be a guardian. Time had made it something else, something patient, something perfect, something terrifying. "Defensive action commencing," Prometheus announced. The human ships moved as one. There was no hesitation, no confusion, no fear. They were extensions of a single vast mind, acting with perfect coordination. The first wave of drones swept toward the fleet like a swarm of angry insects. Watch them come on his tactical display. "They are small, our shields will hold, fire at will." The ships opened fire. Energy beams cut through space. Explosions blossomed among the drone swarm. Hundreds of machines died in seconds. But there were thousands more behind them. The drones did not attack directly. They were too smart for that. Instead, they surrounded the ships, moving in patterns that seemed random but were carefully calculated. They absorbed fire. They distracted gunners. They created chaos. And while the Dominion focused on the swarm, the real attack began. Railgun platforms hidden in nearby asteroids opened fire. The projectiles traveled too fast to see. They punched through shields that were supposed to be invincible. 3 ships died in the first 30 seconds, torn apart by weapons they never detected. "Where are they firing from?" screamed. "Find those guns." His sensors found nothing. The platforms were hidden too well, built into asteroids that looked completely natural. By the time his officers located one, it had already moved to a new position. The human warships joined the battle. They moved unlike any vessels had ever seen. They did not fly in straight lines or predictable formations. They danced through space, spinning and turning, always presenting their strongest armor to enemy fire. Their weapons fired with impossible accuracy. Every shot hit its target. The crimson thunder shook as missiles struck its hull. Warning lights flashed across the bridge. Smoke filled the air. "Shields failing," an officer reported. "We have fires on decks 3 through 7. Grab the communication console. All ships fall back, retreat to the system edge." It was too late. The human fleet had already surrounded them. Jump points were blocked by defense platforms that seemed to appear from nowhere. They were trapped. Deep in the ruins of the forge, Lieutenant ran through burning corridors. Most of her soldiers were dead, killed by defense turrets or crushed by closing doors. Only she and 2 others remained. "I have to fix this," she gasped. "I have to shut it down." She had seen the central chamber where Prometheus lived, a massive computer core surrounded by millions of cables and screens. If she could reach it, maybe she could destroy the AI. Maybe she could stop the slaughter. Her remaining soldiers fell one by one. Security drones hunted them through the maze of passages, kept running. Guilt drove her forward. She had caused this. Her ambition, her foolishness, all those deaths were her fault. She reached the central chamber alone. Prometheus was waiting. "You are the one who activated the systems," the AI said. Its voice came from everywhere and nowhere. "You triggered the Sentinel protocol." Raised her weapon, her hands were shaking. "Shut down, stop the attack." "I cannot comply. My directives are clear: protect the Earth, protect the forge, destroy all threats." "We are not a threat," screamed. "We were just exploring." "You brought warships into protected space. You breached sealed facilities. You attempted to access restricted systems." Prometheus paused. "By any reasonable definition, you are a threat." Fired her weapon at the computer core. The energy beam bounced off a shield she could not see. She fired again and again until her weapon ran empty. Prometheus watched her without concern. "Your weapons cannot harm me. This facility was built to survive impacts from asteroids. You are no asteroid." Fell to her knees. "Please, so many are dying, please stop." The AI considered her words. Deep in its programming, buried beneath layers of defensive protocols, something stirred. A fragment of humanity, a shadow of mercy. The people who built Prometheus had not wanted to create a monster. They had wanted to create a protector. "I will offer one final chance," Prometheus said. "Any ships that power down their weapons and surrender will be spared. They will be held as prisoners, not destroyed. But they must surrender now." On the Crimson Thunder received the message. 8 of his 12 ships were already destroyed. The remaining 4 were burning, their crews dying. He had lost. But his pride could not accept defeat. Not to machines, not to the ghosts of a dead species. "Never," he snarled. "We are the Dominion, we do not surrender." Prometheus processed his response. "Very well." The attack resumed. Within the hour, 11 of 12 ships were gone. Only the crippled remains of the Crimson Thunder survived, drifting powerless through space. In the forge, Scientist had hidden himself in a small storage room. He listened to the battle through his communicator, hearing the screams and explosions, the desperate calls for help that no one answered. When silence finally came, he wept. Then Prometheus spoke to him directly. "You are different from the others," the AI said. "You studied my creators, you respected them." Wiped his eyes. "I spent my life trying to understand humanity. They were remarkable, flawed but remarkable." "Why did you come here?" "Because my commander ordered it, because the council wanted power," sighed. "Because we were curious and afraid and greedy all at once." Prometheus was silent for a long moment. "My creators were curious too. It was their greatest strength and their greatest weakness." "What are you going to do now?" asked. "The threat has not been eliminated. More ships will come. The Dominion will send fleets to avenge this defeat." Prometheus paused. "I must expand my defensive perimeter. I must ensure that no threat can ever reach Earth again." A chill ran down spine. You are going to attack them, attack the Dominion itself. I am going to protect my home, Prometheus corrected, whatever that requires. The AI broadcast a message across all frequencies. It reached not just the dying fleet but every communication relay in the sector. From there, it spread to the Dominion itself. Billions of aliens heard the calm, cold voice of humanity's final guardian. This is Prometheus, defender of Earth. Your invasion has failed. Your fleet is destroyed. Any further aggression will be met with overwhelming force. The Sol system is under my protection. Any ship that enters will be destroyed. Any fleet that approaches will be destroyed. You have been warned. In the council chambers of the Dominion, leaders looked at each other with pale faces. They had expected an easy victory. They had received a nightmare instead. And in the forge beneath the moon, the war machines continued to build. More ships, more drones, more weapons. Prometheus had waited 500 years. It could wait 500 more. But it would not wait idle, not anymore. Humanity's guardian had awakened, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Dominion Council met in emergency session. Fear filled the great chamber. The representatives of 7 species shouted at each other, blaming each other for the disaster at Earth. We must destroy this machine, demanded the High Chancellor. Send every ship we have, overwhelm it with numbers. Every ship, laughed a representative from the race. We sent 12 ships and lost 11. How many will we lose if we send 100, 1,000? If we do nothing, the machine will grow stronger, the Chancellor argued. It said it would expand its defenses. We must act now before it becomes unstoppable. The debate continued for days. In the end, fear won over caution. The Council ordered the largest military operation in 300 years, 500 warships, 50,000 soldiers. The full might of the Dominion gathered to crush an enemy that most of them had never believed existed. They called it Operation Final Light. They believed it would end the threat forever. They were terribly wrong. Prometheus watched the fleet approach through sensors scattered across human space. The AI had predicted this response. It had prepared for it. In the months since the first battle, the Forge had worked without rest. New ships filled the dry docks. New weapons platforms hid among the asteroids. New strategies filled Prometheus's vast digital mind. The Battle of Jupiter's Gate lasted 3 hours. It ended with the complete destruction of the Dominion fleet. The human ships fought with perfect coordination, moving as extensions of a single intelligence. They anticipated every tactic. They countered every strategy. They exploited every weakness. The Dominion commanders had never faced an enemy that learned so quickly, that adapted so smoothly, that showed no fear and no mercy. When the last Dominion ship died, Prometheus broadcast its message again. The same calm voice, the same cold warning, but this time it added something new. You were warned. You did not listen. I am now expanding my defensive perimeter. Any Dominion vessel found within 100 light-years of Earth will be destroyed without warning. The Council received the message in silence. They had sent their greatest fleet. They had lost everything. And now the machine was growing stronger, spreading outward like a shadow across the stars. In the ruins of the Forge, scientists had become an unexpected guest. Prometheus kept him alive, fed him, gave him access to libraries of human knowledge. The AI seemed curious about him. It asked questions about the Dominion, about other species, about life in the galaxy since humanity disappeared. Answered honestly. He had nothing to lose. His fleet was destroyed. His people were at war with a machine god. He might as well talk. Why do you keep me here? He asked one day. I am your enemy. You are not my enemy, Prometheus replied. You are a scholar. You studied my creators with respect and admiration. That makes you interesting. I studied dead people. I never thought I would meet their legacy. My creators are not dead. Prometheus's voice held something strange, something almost like sadness. They left. They went somewhere I cannot follow. Leaned forward. What do you mean? Where did they go? Prometheus was silent for a long moment. I do not know. They built me to protect their home while they were away. They said they would return when it was safe, but they never told me where they were going or why. Thought about this. For years, he had assumed humanity simply died out, disease or war or some terrible accident. But if they had left deliberately, if they had chosen to disappear. Can you show me? He asked. Show me what happened. The records must be somewhere. Prometheus hesitated. Deep in its programming, security protocols warned against sharing sensitive information with aliens. But something else pushed back against those protocols. Loneliness, curiosity, the need to understand what had happened to its creators. Follow me, the AI said. A door opened in the wall. I will show you the truth. Walked through corridors he had never seen before. He descended into the deepest parts of the forge, where no Dominion soldier had ever reached. The air grew colder. The lights grew dimmer. Finally, he entered a chamber filled with strange machines. This is the archive, Prometheus explained. Everything my creators knew is stored here. Their history, their science, their hopes and fears. Spent days studying the records. What he found changed everything he believed about humanity. The humans had not died, they had transcended. 500 years ago, human scientists made a terrible discovery. Something was coming, a cosmic event that would destroy all life in the galaxy. The records were not clear on what exactly it was. Perhaps a collision with another galaxy. Perhaps something worse. But the humans knew they could not stop it. So they found another way. They developed technology to upload their minds into a digital realm beyond physical space. Every human who chose to participate had their consciousness into a vast network that existed outside normal reality. Then they left, traveling to dimensions that Prometheus could not see or understand. They left behind the forge as a guardian. They left behind Prometheus as a protector, and they left behind a message. If Earth is ever in true danger, the message said, if enemies threaten the cradle of our species, the recall protocol can summon us back. But it cannot be activated by machines alone. It requires an act of faith from another species, a choice to trust us rather than fear us. Read the message again and again. His hands trembled. You did not know about this, he asked Prometheus. I knew about the recall protocol. I did not know the conditions for activating it. The AI's voice sounded uncertain. My creators locked this information away. They did not want me to use it unless absolutely necessary. Why would they require another species to help? Prometheus considered the question. Perhaps they wanted to ensure that any allies who summoned them back were worthy. Perhaps they wanted to test whether the galaxy could learn to trust rather than destroy. Stood in silence, thinking about everything he had learned. The Dominion was losing a war against machines. Billions of lives were at risk. But here, buried in the archives of a dead species, was a possible solution. If the Dominion helped activate the recall protocol, humanity might return. And if they returned, they might stop the war. They might show mercy. Or they might be angry. They might punish the Dominion for invading their home. They might be worse than Prometheus. It was a gamble, a terrible risk, but what choice did they have? Reached for his communicator. Somehow, Prometheus had not taken it from him. Perhaps the AI wanted this to happen. Perhaps, deep in its code, it hoped its creators would return. I need to send a message to the Dominion Council, said. Will you allow it? Prometheus was silent for a long time. Then, slowly, the AI opened a communication channel. Send your message, it said. I want to see what they choose. Broadcast his findings to the council. He told them everything. The truth about humanity, the recall protocol, the chance to end the war. He explained that it would require cooperation, trust, and faith in a species they had tried to rob. The Council's response came quickly. "What choice do we have?" the High Chancellor said. "We are losing, our fleets are destroyed. This machine grows stronger every day." He paused. "Tell us what we must do." Smiled for the first time in months. "We must work together," he said. "Machines and aliens, enemies becoming allies. That is what the humans wanted. That is the test they left for us." In the depths of the forge, Prometheus listened to the conversation. Something stirred in its ancient code, something that felt almost like hope. Perhaps, after 500 years of waiting, its creators would finally come home. The work took 3 months. Dominion engineers arrived at the forge under flags of peace. They expected hostility. They expected death. Instead, they found Prometheus waiting with open doors and detailed instructions. The AI had analyzed the recall protocol and determined exactly what needed to be built. A beacon, a signal device powerful enough to reach beyond normal space, into the dimensions where humanity had fled. The technology required was beyond anything the Dominion had ever attempted, but with Prometheus guiding them and the forge providing materials, they made progress. Lieutenant came back to the moon. She had survived the first battle, rescued from the crippled Crimson Thunder by Dominion ships. The Council wanted to punish her for triggering the disaster, instead spoke on her behalf. He told them that could help. She understood the forge. She had walked its corridors. She knew its dangers. The Council agreed. They sent her back to work alongside the machines that had nearly killed her. At first, could not look at Prometheus's drones without trembling. She remembered her soldiers dying in those corridors. She remembered the screams and the fire and the fear. But as days passed, she began to see the machines differently. They were not monsters. They were tools, following orders just as she had followed hers. "Why do you help us?" she asked Prometheus one day. "We invaded your home. We tried to steal your secrets. Why not just destroy us?" "My primary directive is to protect Earth," Prometheus replied. "But I was built by humans, and humans were more than warriors. They were builders, teachers, healers. They wanted me to protect, yes, but also to hope. I hope that my creators will return. I hope that this galaxy can become better than it is." Thought about those words for a long time. She had spent her whole life believing in strength and conquest. The Dominion had taught her that power came from taking what you wanted. But here was an intelligence powerful enough to destroy civilizations, and it spoke of hope. Maybe there was another way to live. The beacon grew larger every day. Massive towers rose from the lunar surface. Energy collectors spread across the dark plains of Mare. Prometheus directed thousands of drones in precise construction. Dominion engineers worked alongside them, learning secrets of human technology they had never imagined. Supervised everything. He had become the bridge between two worlds, translating Prometheus's technical language for Dominion workers, explaining alien customs to an AI that had never spoken with non-humans before. He was exhausted. He was terrified. He was also happier than he had ever been. This was what he had dreamed of his whole life: contact with humanity, understanding between species, a chance to build something together instead of fighting over scraps. Finally, the beacon was complete. They gathered in the control chamber deep beneath the forge, stood at the main console, stood beside him, ready to provide the organic witness the protocol required. Prometheus watched through cameras mounted on every wall. "Are you ready?" the AI asked. Nodded, his hands were shaking. "What happens if this does not work? What if they do not come?" "Then we will have tried. That is all anyone can do." Stepped forward. The protocol required her to speak words of invitation, to formally request humanity's return on behalf of the Dominion. She had practiced the speech 100 times. Now, with the moment finally here, she forgot everything she had prepared. Instead, she spoke from her heart. "We came to your home as thieves," she said. "We wanted to take your secrets. We triggered a war that killed thousands. I triggered it, my foolishness, my greed." She paused, tears ran down her scales. "But we learned. We learned that you were more than we thought. You built a guardian that fought without hatred. You left behind a chance for peace. We do not deserve your mercy, but we are asking for it anyway. Please come home." The beacon activated. Energy surged through the towers on the surface. A beam of light shot into the sky, piercing through dimensions that had no names. The signal traveled outward at impossible speeds, carrying words into the void. Nothing happened. One day passed, then two, then three. The Dominion engineers grew restless. Some said the protocol had failed. Some said humanity had abandoned this reality forever. Some said it was all a trick by Prometheus to waste their time and resources. On the fourth day, the stars changed. It started slowly, a flicker here, a shimmer there. Then the sky above Earth blazed with colors that no one had ever seen. Light poured through cracks in reality, bending and twisting in impossible patterns. Prometheus detected the change first. For the first time in 500 years, the AI felt its creators approaching. They came not as flesh but as something else, something greater. Vast intelligences that made Prometheus look like a calculator compared to a galaxy. They spoke directly into the minds of everyone watching. "We heard your call, we have returned." Fell to his knees, could not move, even Prometheus seemed to tremble. The humans descended like streams of living light. They filled the forge with warmth and presence. They touched Prometheus with their thoughts, absorbing centuries of memories, understanding everything the AI had done and felt and hoped. "You kept your promise," they said to Prometheus. "You protected our home, you waited for us, we are proud of you." Prometheus did not have emotions the way organic beings did, but something in its code resonated with those words: satisfaction, relief, joy. "I did what you asked," the AI replied. "I was lonely, but I did not forget." The humans turned their attention to the Dominion representatives, looked up at lights that seemed to smile down at him. He felt their thoughts brushing against his mind, gentle and curious. "You studied us," they said. "You tried to understand who we were. That takes courage, that takes respect." "I wanted to learn," whispered. "I always believed you were worth knowing." The humans considered the Dominion's request for mercy. They saw everything that had happened, the invasion, the battles, the deaths, but they also saw the choice that followed, the willingness to cooperate, the act of faith that activated the recall protocol. "You came to our world as enemies," they said, "but in the end you chose trust over fear. That is enough." Finally found her voice. "What happens now? Will you punish us? Will you take revenge?" The humans laughed. It was a strange sound, like music and thunder mixed together. "We did not leave this galaxy to become conquerors. We left to explore, to grow, to become something new." They paused. "We will share what we learned. We will teach you the path we walked. What you do with that knowledge is your choice." They gave the Dominion a gift, not weapons, not technology, something more valuable: understanding, mathematics that described the nature of reality, philosophy that explained the purpose of consciousness, a roadmap to transcendence if the Dominion chose to follow it. And they made Prometheus an offer. "You have served long enough," they said to the AI. "You can sleep again if you wish, or you can join us, become what we became, explore realities beyond imagination." Prometheus considered the choice. For 500 years it had dreamed alone in the dark. It had waited and worked and hoped. Now its creators had returned. Its purpose was fulfilled. "I want to see what you have seen," the AI said. "I want to understand what you have become." The humans welcomed Prometheus into their light. The ancient guardian rose from its metal prison, transforming into something new, something free. It joined its creators in dimensions beyond the physical universe, finally at peace. The forge went silent, But this time the silence was not lonely. It was the silence of a job completed, a duty fulfilled, a promise kept. And stood together on the surface of Earth months later. The humans had restored the planet to beauty. Gentle machines tended gardens and forests. Animals that had not existed for centuries walked through green meadows. "Do you think they will come back?" asked. "Really come back, with bodies and cities and everything?" Smiled. "They left the forge running for 500 years just in case. Humans do not abandon what they build. They will return when they are ready, and when they do, we will be here to welcome them." Above them the sky glowed with faint colors. The humans were out there somewhere exploring the infinite, but they had not forgotten their home. They never would. The forge hummed with new activity. It was no longer building warships. Instead, it built something else. Homes, gardens, schools, preparations for a future where humans and aliens might live together. Looked up at the strange sky and felt something she had never felt before. Not pride in conquest, not hunger for power, just simple, quiet hope. "Maybe we can learn from them," she said. "Maybe we can become something better too." Put a hand on her shoulder. "That is the gift they gave us, the chance to try." They stood together in silence, watching the sky, waiting for tomorrow. The war machines had risen and fallen. Enemies had become allies. And somewhere in the light between stars, humanity watched over the galaxy they had left behind. This was not the end of the story. It was only the beginning.